All right, this week we're going to be talking about how to run affordable PPC campaigns, and in particular, we're going to focus on three different, seemingly unrelated industries, but are similar in the sense that they're highly competitive. And with me today, I have Samantha. She's one of our account managers here at Kaleido, and she wrote this blog post recently, and we're going to kind of talk through sort of the logic and how you set up PPC campaigns, and more specifically, how industries that normally would just kind of discount the ability to do PPC can actually get in the game and be competitive. So let's kind of talk specifically to your blog post. So you kind of mixed in a combination of law firms, credit unions, and assisted living communities.
Yes.
So why that interesting mix?
Well, based upon each of those different industries, there's still that sense of, when you're looking for that service, you're going to do a lot of research before you actually agree to sign a contract or, put down a payment for your loved one to live somewhere.
Right. So in each of these, kind of the common thread is just the fact that they're so reliant on referrals.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we think about that with law firms. Somebody needs an attorney. A lot of times we don't have a lot of experience with an attorney when we first need one. So you ask friends and family or colleagues, who do you use? And then I think affordable living makes a lot of sense, because obviously people are trying to figure out, like you said, a loved one. That's like a big decision, and you're trying to really do some research there. But I thought credit unions was kind of interesting in the sense that we always think about financial services as being kind of a high referral business, but I think credit unions in particular, probably even more so, because it's kind of a little more of a community focus around credit unions or a particular affiliation or whatever. And so you already got those natural friends and family around you that could kind of refer to the credit union. So to actually talk to PPC, so we use this all the time, but I think a lot of people are intimidated. What are kind of the intimidations around, or that you hear with clients that have them saying kind of no to Google AdWords?
Well, I have to say the first one right off the bat is usually the cost. They think, running something like that is going to take a lot of money right off the bat, and that's normally not the case. And they're also worried about, the complexity of it, because there is a lot of strategy and planning that goes into it, but there's a lot of baseline, different ways you can go about it, and just the competitiveness too.
Right.
It's
often intimidating. You got to go in there and do some searches, and you see the big folks in there. But I think
you usually see the big names at the top right off the bat, and you think, I'm not going to have a chance.
Right.
But that's
or you assume they're spending, even if they are spending tons of money, that money, even if we've got people that are spending tens of thousands of dollars in PPC, every single month. But that budget's kind of scattered around. So I think even at a small level, a small credit union or kind of a mid-sized law firm, or of course assisted living communities, you can kind of get into that competitive by using a couple little tips and tricks, and kind of putting yourselves in a place where you don't have to go after the whole budget, especially with these sorts of industries that we're talking about. There's usually a local aspect to it, right? So you don't have to go after the whole nation, right? So kind of talk about some of those strategies. How can we kind of get into using PPC, get some of those really good high intent opportunities without spending a ton of money? What are kind of what's the framework that you kind of use to get there?
Well, first, just going off of what you said about keeping it local, I mean, in assisted living and credit unions, law firms, you're not going to target someone 2 states away. Right. The laws in different states are different too. Also, just keeping it very targeted in the sense of thinking about what it is your customer is looking for specifically. With senior living, there's assisted, there's memory care, there's different aspects to that. People going to a credit union are obviously going to have different needs, and there's different areas of law that are going to be more heavily searched than others as well.
Right.
So just kind of keeping in mind what your customer is essentially looking for, and what kind of keywords are they using to find that right off the bat.
Yeah, and I think that's so important when you're thinking about keywords. A lot of times we go into the market with a lot of our own assumptions, because we're in the industry, type of language that we use, our assumptions around what we think people are looking for. Sometimes if you're just the marketing department, you can even be a little bit distant from actually interacting and talking to customers, so you might not actually hear these conversations. So one of the things that I always liked to talk about internally here when we're building out PPC is to really go into your keyword research open-minded and let the data tell you how customers and consumers are looking for you, not necessarily going in with your own assumptions. So you can use that as a little bit of a seed, but really kind of open your mind and try to understand the keywords that you're seeing in the data and what people were kind of thinking when they went through that process to actually type in the keyword.
Exactly.
And so another part that I thought was kind of interesting in your blog is you talked about kind of the layers of Google AdWords.
Right.
And I think a lot of people see in a search kind of the ad text in just kind of a normal search result, but there are so many different layers that you can actually leverage and take advantage of. So tell us, like, how does that Shrek ogre look like in
Yes, I
Google
use
AdWords?
kind of the metaphor about, in Shrek when a donkey is saying, like ogres are like layers, and the same thing goes for Google Ads. You've got at the high level, you've got the campaign itself, which either could be search or display. Then you've got ad groups, which is where you could really kind of narrow it down by a certain category of your service, different targeting aspects of different types of customers, and then underneath that is where you put those actual keywords.
Yeah. And I think, even on top of that, you've got kind of the different channels, right? You've got display ads, you've got the display network, YouTube's on there, right? You can actually target YouTube and video, which we think is huge. I think, and I'll make a kind of a prediction, I think probably in the next year or so, we're actually going to see Google allow you to run voice search sort of campaigns, because ComScore, I think in particular, came out with the research that said, hey, in the next couple of years or so, probably easily 50% of the searches will be voice searches from your mobile phone. So I got to believe that Google is preparing themselves to allow you to target those voice searches and get in the mix for them. So you definitely have to check out the blog post. It's super interesting going through these three highly competitive industries, figuring out how you can affordably get into the market and compete with the big folks, the bigger companies and organizations that you're kind of wrestling against by just being smart and niching down on either some specific keywords and intents from your searchers or just by location. So there's a lot of different strategies. Again, just to give you sort of an understanding of how easy it is to get into the market, on most of our campaigns, when we first build out a campaign for a new client, even if they're a big company, we rarely dip into the market with more than a couple thousand, $2,000, $2,500 in budget spend because we want to do that smartly. And so it can show you that most people can probably carve out a couple $1,000s in their marketing budget to give this a try. So it is not inaccessible to most marketing budgets. So you should definitely give this a try. If you need our help, of course, you can reach out to us at kaleido.com. We've got Samantha here. I'm Bill, the CEO of Kaleido. We'd love to help you through that process. If you enjoy these videos, we do at least one a week. Just subscribe to our channel and make sure you turn on that notification button so you'll know every time we post a new one. And we'll see you next time on our next digital marketing tip.